Hi, this is Curious Mystics Podcast, formerly Spiritual Mamas Podcast. Together we explore the mysteries of the spiritual world, sometimes boldly,
Sometimes cautiously.
but always with open hearts
And curious minds.
Let's go. Good morning.
Good morning. Hello.
I'm Aericka.
And I'm Kim.
And welcome back.
Yes, we appreciate you being here with us today.
Absolutely. So, Kim, what do we got today? What's going on? How you feeling?
I'm actually feeling pretty good. I was thinking about it because I went to the planetarium on Friday with my boyfriend. We had a little date night and it was a really nice time, but I was thinking about how much I really enjoy those types of things, and I'm not always aware of whether or not he does, but he also enjoyed it, so we're going to try to make it a little bit of a regular thing.
That's fun. I've actually never been, did you actually go and, see it?
So we went to the one at Central, so they do a little show, twice a month, on different topics, so it's not always the same show. And then if it's a clear night, they'll take you up to the observatory so that you can view everything. We did not stay for the observatory part because we didn't eat beforehand, so we were starving.
Yeah.
So we just stayed for the show and learned all about the different types of light that are in the universe.
That sounds so awesome. I've only ever been when you go to a museum or something and they have one, and just watch the show. I've never seen when you can actually watch, go up and see the real live sky.
Yeah.
That I really want to do someday.
Yeah. Well, we're going to go again later in the month. So maybe if you guys are up for it, you guys can come with us.
Double date.
Yeah. They do that. And then she was also saying, it was the director of the program there. And she was also saying that this week, Thursday, it's the middle of the night. It's 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. is going to be a full lunar eclipse. And she's like, so I'll be here if you guys want to come. We're 3 o'clock in the morning. We'll all be out in the field with telescopes.
How cool would that be?
Maybe I'll just be weird and show up.
Why not? Be that one person.
Yeah. That doesn't go to the school, but I just show up on campus.
I mean, you could pass for a college student. It's good. It's fine.
Yeah. How's your day going?
Well, it's been a disaster from start to finish. I didn't sleep at all last night. So at the time of this recording, it's just turned to, was it daylight savings, right? Is that what it is? We're going into daylight savings?
Yes.
Anyway, we jumped forward. And since then, I have not been able to sleep. I cannot, I'm just wide awake, which is weird because you would think it'd be the opposite. Cannot sleep. So I didn't sleep last night. And then my dog started puking first thing this morning. And it was just one thing after another. And then, I was late getting on per usual.
So, you got on. You couldn't hear me.
I couldn't hear you. Computer glitches.
Yeah.
So, but I'm here. We're here.
All right. You need a reset.
I do. And I feel like I wrote a meditation, but I don't know that I did the meditation for a reset. I did a midday reset. Yes, I did. I just didn't do it yet. I have to record it. So listen for that. It's a midday reset. So
maybe that's exactly what you need.
I think that is exactly what I need. So today we were supposed to talk about regression, past life regression, but I started into that and it went all kind of places. So we're just going to talk about past lives / soul / what happens before you get here.
Yeah.
All that stuff. So.
All right, I'm ready.
Past life regression is a guided hypnotic or meditative process that helps individuals access memories, emotions, or experiences believed to be from past lives. It is often used for spiritual growth, healing unresolved traumas, and gaining insight into patterns and relationships in one's current life. So, cool. Sounds great. Let's talk about it. However, I started to look into what is out there, like past lives in general.
Mm-hmm.
And the question is for you,
yeah,
do you believe in past lives?
Yes. Yes, I do. I know that I've briefly mentioned it before on the podcast, and you and I have talked about it. I've done a past life regression, and I actually was able to explore a couple different past lives in that experience. And the visceral reaction and memory and experience of doing that, the way that I want to say the way that I felt, but I feel like that's not strong enough. The experience that I was having was too connected for it not to have been what I've experienced in the past.
Well, let me ask you a second question. Do you believe that everybody has had a past life?
I don't know. I don't know. I instinctually want to say yes. I guess maybe that depends on how you are determining what past life, like if there's a definition for it.
Right. Yeah. Agreed. I think I'm kind of going on like the broad sense of like past life, like a reincarnation type situation. I do believe that everyone can have a past life. I don't necessarily believe that everyone has multiple of them. Like, I feel like some people have to be younger than other people.
Yeah.
Like, we can't all be thousands of years old, right? Like,
yeah.
and I think personally, I'm not that old. Like, if I've had past lives, it's been maybe 3 or 4. Like, not like some people, like my youngest sister, she's an old soul. Like, you know, you're those people that are like, oh, she's an old soul, or they're an old soul. 100% an old soul. I would probably say my other brother is probably an old soul. My mom is. I don't know that I am. Especially like when I was younger, I didn't believe that. I think because I was very superficial. And it's not been until I've been older that I feel like I have more groundedness, maybe. But I was told by an energy healer once when they were working on me that they said that they thought I was part of the world tree.
Yes.
And the idea of the world tree is that it holds all these souls, and it's like a life tree, so to speak. And these souls will come out periodically for a mission of some sort. And she said that she thought I was one of those, and that probably only has come out a few times.
That's interesting because it kind of goes into what you were saying about like not being an old soul. I'm saying that in quotes, in that maybe you haven't come to this earth many, many, many times, but being an old soul in a sense of being part of this ancient experience. And
I've been hanging out in the tree, but like not actually in the world, I guess. So that got me thinking. So actually, I was listening to a guru, Sudha Guru, on YouTube, and he was giving a talk, and he was talking about how he said that as far as past life regressions, he said it's not real. He said it's because like we have enough trouble with our own memories of this life, like with traumas and anxieties around our current life, that imagine if you had all these memories of a past life, then your brain would explode, basically. Like it couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
And he said, so when you go through this hypnosis, it's more that you're given suggestions. I don't know that I believe that, though.
That was not my experience.
Yeah.
I can understand the part about having all these memories. Yeah, our brain couldn't handle that, or I don't think that our brain could handle that in this current state. However, we have a whole subconscious. There's a whole collective, right? And that we could tap into, and that for me, would be an indicator that, yes, we can connect with these other parts. One. Two, at least in my personal experience from my past life regression, she didn't know anything about me. And she wasn't asking me questions or putting suggestions of like, do you see this? Or are you looking at this color? Or are you in this setting? Like, she wasn't giving me any of those suggestions. They were very like open. What is your experience? You tell me what you're going through. So there's that. And three, the other thing that is coming to mind is the person that I went to for this past life regression on her website talked a lot about whether or not you believe. And it could be an experience that you can go into in either scenario. If you believe in past life regression, if you believe in past lives, then doing this experience helps bring you clarity or maybe understanding of that experience or whatever it is you're trying to explore. And if you're skeptical or don't believe, you can go through the experience and it may still bring you some clarity, kind of like the placebo effect, like we've talked about before.
Yeah, yeah.
So whether or not it's true, real, whatever, may be up to each person to decide, but in either scenario, you could potentially gain something from having that type of experience if you wanted to, and it's not really necessary for everybody to do it. So
yeah, I think he believes in like reincarnation, but I think the idea of doing the regression, I think, is what he was against. But
yeah,
we'll get back to that. But so anyways, so past lives. Many cultures believe in past lives and reincarnation. In Hinduism and Buddhism, they believe in incarnation, where the soul of Atman, or they call that the soul Atman, or the consciousness, is reborn based on karma until they reach nirvana. So each time you come back, like you have to, the idea is that you won't come back this time because you'll have reached nirvana. And each time you come, like you have to do things to better that karma, learn lessons, stuff like that. And then in Tibetan Buddhism, there's the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and it describes the process of death, the afterlife, and rebirth, including how consciousness moves between lifetimes.
Okay.
Yeah. And in Western mysticism and theosophy, esoteric traditions such as the works of Edgar Cayce and Rudolf Steiner discuss past lives as part of the soul's evolution and the Akashic records as a source of past life knowledge. And then indigenous beliefs, many indigenous traditions recognize past lives, viewing them through the lens of ancestral spirits, soul journeys, or shamanic wisdom, which we've talked about before. Like I think it was during the death and dying rituals that we talked about, is that in a lot of indigenous like believe that there is like an afterlife.
Yeah.
And like if you're a shaman or a medicine person, that like that's passed down to you through the generations. So what are Akashic records? It's a concept from metaphysics describing an energetic archive that contains the memories of every soul's past, present, and future experience. And some practitioners can actually access this record through meditation or intuition.
That I think is really interesting. I've heard of the Akashic records from so many different sources, which to me, that's, I think, the interesting piece is like the different sources that I've heard it from practice different things, believe different things, and yet they're all referencing this same source of information.
Yeah. I've heard the Spiritual Sisters podcast talk about the Akashic records and how they see the Akashic records. And to me, I think of the Akashic records as like a big library. I've never tried to access it though. Like I've never tried to access my own Akashic records. I think that's something that would be interesting to me, but it's not something that I have personally tried to do yet.
Sometimes I get a little like, not nervous, but wary of that. Like just because you can doesn't mean that you should.
Yeah.
You know, and I don't mean that in a sense of like, I don't think people should be doing this, but like, if I'm going to try and access it, what would be my purpose for doing that?
Right.
You know, if I'm going to learn how to do that, is there going to be some greater reasoning for it? Or is it just to explore, just to find information? I might not need to know.
So I think a lot of intuitives use Akashic records to find out information as far as downloads. It's like similar of getting a download, only you're going somewhere else to get the answers. And they can also access your Akashic records if they're schooled enough, I guess. And then they can ask your Akashic records questions for you. So I don't know that you're like going there to find out all knowledge. I think you have to go with an idea as to, and there's multiple different areas the Akashic records. I want to find someone that can come on and talk about it, but this is kind of like my basic understanding is that there's different parts of the Akashic records that you can access at different times.
Yeah. I think that's how I understood it to be too. And I understand why people would, you know, use that, and whether it's for their own downloads or helping other people or anything like that. Yeah, I just think that might be an area that I personally would be like, hey, I don't necessarily want to open that up unless I need to for some specific reason.
Makes sense. I had another question while I was going through this is, where are these souls hanging out to come back? Like, what's the thought process? Like, are we just kind of chilling out there? Or like, are you in a tree? Like I was saying I was. And why are we coming back? And so in Catholicism, we're taught that you go to heaven. Like, there is no really reincarnation. However, there is this idea of purgatory, excuse me, and that if you weren't baptized, or there's other reasons why you would end up there, but you just kind of hanging out there. Your soul goes there if you weren't baptized, or like if you're a baby and then you die before baptism, and some other reasons. I can't remember why you would go there. But then we have to pray for those people in purgatory so they can get to heaven. So that's just kind of like one thought. And the idea is that many spiritual traditions, including those from shamanism, Buddhism, and esoteric teachings, believe that between incarnations, souls reside in a spirit world, a non-physical realm where they review past lives, rest, and prepare for their next incarnation. And this is sometimes called the Bardo in Tibetan Buddhism, or Summerland in some other mystical traditions. The Akashic field, some believe that the souls exist in a vast energetic field known as the Akashic records. So like, so I guess some souls hang out in there. A dimension of consciousness where all souls' experiences are stored. And during that time in the Akashic records, some of the souls may be asking guidance from higher beings, reviewing their karmic lessons, and choose their next incarnation based on what they need to do for growth. Reincarnation cycles and oversoul. Certain teachings propose that individual souls are fragments of a greater oversoul, a higher self, or group consciousness. When not incarnated, a soul might return to merge with its oversoul, gaining insight and integration its experiences before projecting another incarnation into the physical plane. I think this is like star seeds and light bearers. Have you ever heard of those? That's a whole nother topic, but I think that's what that's alluding to. And then some traditions believe it's immediate reincarnation. They just reincarnate with no in-between state. So it's usually that we find this in Buddhism a lot. And it suggests that karma propels a soul into the next body as soon as conditions are right. So
this is just coming to me now, but and maybe I need to sit with it for a minute before I put it out there, because I'm not really sure how to make sense of it. The idea of reincarnating, whether it's immediate or not, or incarnating in the first place, coming from some other realm, if there is a goal of growth, progression, getting to that next stage, not just here on Earth, but in the bigger picture, why do we sometimes have difficulty remembering that, knowing that? What is that purpose? What is that goal? What is the thing I need to do now in order for my soul to progress? And I'm not asking you specifically, but
yeah, no, it's a good question because like, yeah, how are we supposed to know? Because actually, we're going to talk about soul contracts in a second here, but how are we supposed to know what we're supposed to do if we can't remember it?
Yeah.
But I wonder if like kind of deep down you do. Mm-hmm. There's also this idea that depending on what your soul contract is, and again, we'll get there in a second, that you're there to like learn a lesson and go through challenges. So that's why you have so many challenges in your life. There's the idea that maybe you have to fix the challenges of somebody else. And so that's why you're the healer. You know what I mean? Like there's this different idea. So I think that the more meditation you do, the more you're going to find out what your purpose is. But yeah, I agree with you. Like, yeah, people are just wandering through life. How do we know what we're supposed to be doing?
Yeah. I know that we can like figure it out, especially if we're looking for that answer and we can start to meditate or, you know, learn and do the things. But there are definitely people who don't question that at all and just live life. And how do they know what their purpose is?
And so there's also the idea if you didn't fulfill the purpose that time, you come back and you got to do it again. So, I mean, so maybe that's what happens to those people that don't know, and they did, and maybe they did fulfill it not knowing. But if they didn't know and they didn't fulfill it, then they just come back.
I don't like that idea. I do not want to be doing living the same life, learning the same lessons, like over and over and over.
But maybe you come back, but like the spirit, the universe is like, okay, well, let me try showing you it this way.
Yeah.
Maybe they'll get it this time. Come at it at a different angle.
Right. Once it clicks, it clicks.
Yeah. Yeah. So what we're kind of talking about goes between like a voluntary choice versus like karmic pull. And some traditions believe that souls choose their next incarnation based on lessons they need to learn, while others suggest that karmic energy acts as a magnetic force, drawing souls toward the circumstances that match their unfinished work. So the idea is, are we choosing it, or is it just like the universe just pulls you a certain direction? I don't know. So that's where it comes up with this idea of soul contracts. And I've heard that. I had never heard that until kind of getting into this work. Had you ever heard of it?
I haven't heard of it in that way. I haven't heard of soul contracts before doing this work, but I've heard of, it's kind of like the idea of like fate. This was meant to be. So that's kind of what I thought of before starting this journey.
Yeah.
Hey friends, we just wanted to take a moment to remind you all that you can interact with us on social media. We can be found at Curious Mystics Podcast on all platforms.
And if you haven't already, please take a moment to like, subscribe, and share so that we can keep showing up for you guys with new weekly episodes and content. Thank you for hanging out with us so far, and stay curious. I've heard the concept that like babies choose their parents. And I wonder if that has anything to do with like soul contracts, or that's just like they're like, that's just what happens, babies. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like I said, this is a big topic. So the soul contracts are spiritual agreements the soul makes before incarnating in a lifetime. These contracts are believed to outline key experiences, relationships, and lessons that a soul intends to work through in order to evolve. The concept of soul contracts is often found in shamanic teachings, esoteric traditions, and past life regression studies. So I had an intuitive reading on my birthday last year. And I was told that I was fulfilling part of my soul contract this lifetime. Like, I'm fulfilling it. And then I'm also fulfilling part of a contract to fix something in my kids' lifetimes, like my daughter's specifically, which is interesting because she's not technically mine. But like, I was fixing a problem in that lineage and also fulfilling something in my lineage. And then she asked me, how do you feel about that? That's a lot of responsibility. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's a lot of responsibility. Mm-hmm. I don't know how I feel about that.
I don't know if knowing that, for you, does knowing it make a difference in how you approach that relationship or your role?
No, because I think honestly it was already just evolving that way anyways, without me knowing that was something that needed to be fixed. But it was getting fixed anyways.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you're the one experiencing it, so I'm not like agreeing that you're experiencing it the right way. That sounded weird.
I agree with it. You're agreeing.
But I think in the sense that like if that was part of your soul contract and you're fulfilling it, that it's going to happen. It's either going to happen or not happen. And so if you're on that path and you are fulfilling it, then it is happening. Versus if it was something that maybe you needed to do again, then obviously you wouldn't be, walking down that path. You'd be hitting barriers or making mistakes or not seeing the things you need to see or doing the things you need to do. Mm-hmm. So the fact that someone else can tell you you're fulfilling it, that's just confirmation that you're on the right path and doing the things that you need to be doing.
Yeah, there's the idea, this is going to go off topic probably, but there's the idea that is your life predetermined or can you make your own life? And I think that the predetermined is a very religion / Christianity / Judaism type thought process. Maybe it is in other cultures too. I don't know, other religions too. I don't know, but I feel like that's like God knows what's happening and he's got his plan for you and, don't worry, it's all in their hands. And, or then there's this other idea with these different timelines and choose your own adventure type situation. And I'm caught in between.
Yeah, I agree. And this is probably a whole nother topic, but I think my own perspective of it is that there are probably lots of different outcomes that are to some extent predetermined. This outcome, this outcome, this outcome, this outcome. But you choose how you engage with it to get to one of those outcomes. And you may not know which outcome you're going to.
Yeah, and I think that's what the idea of the different timelines that appeals to me. And the thought that you can essentially choose your own timeline based on your actions currently. I was talking to somebody, I talk about this all the time, like it's a choose your own adventure book. Do you remember what those are?
Yes.
Okay. I think I've been just talking too young of people when I say this.
What do you mean?
Yeah. I'm like, I think that was an 80s thing. Mm-hmm. But that's how I view it. So there are endpoints. Mm-hmm. But when you get to certain points, you have the option to go this way or you go this way, and it'll choose you to those other endpoints, show you to those different endpoints.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's probably like people who believe that it is destined to be whatever it's going to be, don't see those major decision points as a decision. Mm-hmm. They're like, yeah, I could feel like I'm going to make this decision, but whatever decision I make, I'm going to make anyway. So... Whereas I personally don't believe that. I think when you get to those major decision points, you are making that decision and that is going to determine your...
Yeah, well, there's always this idea of free will in pretty much every, well, at least in the romantic religions like Christianity, Judaism, and Muslim, is that there's free will. And so if there's free will, then how is it really predetermined? Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. We could go around and around on that. But. Mm-hmm. But so here's some key aspects of what a soul contract is. There is pre-birth agreements. Before birth, a soul, often with the guidance of spirit guides, ancestors, or council of higher beings, chooses certain life experiences to help with spiritual growth. They may include relationships, challenges, talents, and even hardships designed to push the soul toward greater awareness. And then sacred relationships. Some contracts involve soulmates, twin flames, and karmic partners, individuals with whom we have a deep energetic tie from past lives. And then these relationships, whether loving or challenging, are meant to serve a purpose in our evolution. I believe in having relationships with people in past lives because like I view my nephew on my husband's side, he was instantly drawn to me and I was instantly drawn to him. Like he was like 11 when we met, 10 or 11, and just like connected. And I've always saw him as like my son. So it's like, it was like instant. I don't know. To me, that was like too strong of a connection to someone I never knew and is not a blood relative. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree. I think that sometimes people can focus too much on maybe like romantic relationships. And so they think of soulmates as somebody that you're romantically involved with. And I've never viewed it that way. I do have some very strong connections in my life that wouldn't make sense otherwise. Like, how did this line up this way? So, yeah, those relationships can travel with you through lifetimes, through experiences.
I think so. So there's karma and healing. Soul contracts often include unfinished karma from past lives. If there was harm, betrayal, or unresolved pain in a past incarnation, souls may agree to reincarnate together to balance and heal those wounds. Oh, that's interesting. I read that but didn't read that. And this is why certain relationships feel instantly familiar or emotionally intense. They may be part of a pre-agreed contract. Well, there we go. So
it comes full circle.
There you go. So life purposes and lessons. Some contracts are about personal growth, such as learning self-love, resilience, or forgiveness. Others focus on soul service, like bringing healing, teaching, and awakening consciousness in others. The soul contract that my intuitive was, and that was Gabrielle Celeste, who we had on a previous episode. She said that mine was a financial, like I was healing financial hardships. Something to that effect. And as I'm reading this soul service, like bringing healing, teaching, and awakening consciousness in others, I'm like, that might be my role as well.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. Yeah, well, there's this idea that like if you're always drawn to a certain thing, it was probably what you contracted. So mine's been healing, mine's been bringing information to people.
Yeah,
I'm always drawn to doing that. Coaching, that sort of thing. Imparting knowledge and encouraging. And then we talked about free will. So while soul contracts set up a blueprint for a lifetime, they are not unchangeable. So through awareness, spiritual work, and deep healing, some contracts can be modified or released, especially those tied to suffering patterns no longer needed for growth. So here are some signs you're experiencing a soul contract. A relationship or experience feels deeply faded or familiar. Recurring patterns appear in relationships or life themes. A person challenges or transforms you in a profound way. You feel an undeniable pull towards a certain path, even if it's difficult.
I think I can identify several relationships that probably hit at least one of those points, if not more.
Yeah. 100%. Back to the original topic that we were supposed to talk about, which is the past life regression. Yeah. So again, it's a guided hypnotic or meditative process that helps the individual access memories, emotions, or experiences believed to be from past lives. It's often for spiritual growth, healing unresolved traumas, gaining insight into patterns and relationships in one's life. So this is kind of a brief overview as to what happens. I don't know if you want to speak to what happens, but during a past life regression, during a session, a practitioner, often trained in hypnosis or regression therapy, guides the individual into a deeply relaxed state, helping them access subconscious memories. Some people experience vivid imagery, emotions, or even physical sensations connected to past life experiences, while others receive symbolic or intuitive impressions.
Yeah, that sounds like what my experience was in a nutshell. It was a 6-hour long process, so it wasn't something like that was like, okay, you're in and out, that's it.
Yeah.
But we did start off with just getting into a relaxed state, a meditative state, and kind of then going deeper. And then whatever was coming to me, I would verbalize, and she would guide me to either approach it or walk away, notice whatever I'm noticing, and then where does that take you? So her role for me was very much of just guidance, but not in a suggestive way, like I was saying earlier. For example, the first moment that came to mind for me, I was very focused on what am I seeing in front of me? And she was like, look down. What do you see on your feet? And I'm like, oh, okay. Now I can see, which I wasn't paying attention to at first. I was only noticing the scenery in front of me. And then I realized where I was, and I realized like what the environment was and what time it was and who was around. And I like realized I could move and, be in the experience. So that it was that type of guidance. It wasn't like is it sunny out or,
right.
Nothing suggestive like that.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I originally said I didn't want to do one because I was nervous about doing one because I wasn't sure what I would find out and or did I need to find out. Now I'm leaning more and more towards maybe I do need to find out or want to find out.
Yeah.
Just because, I don't know. Just because now I'm curious.
Yeah.
But I don't know that it would change anything for me.
Yeah.
It's just more of just like curiosity.
For me, I think I went in there with one goal and came out with something totally different. So it was beneficial in a different way than I was expecting it to be. And it was healing to some extent. There was some pretty intense things that I experienced during that process that I remembered that I had experienced. And she helped me to bring that to a full conclusion and to help heal that so that it wasn't something that I continue to carry with me.
Carrying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I like that you said that because I think that plays into, we've talked about like generational traumas. We've talked about carrying these different things that happen to us through our genes and through our energies. And so to be able to heal those past things, and you're not going to continue to carry them, and then you're going to be able to heal from them, and then your current life is going to be better, and then going forward like your next peeps are going to be better as well.
Yeah I think if for you or for anybody else, if anybody's going to consider doing it, reach out and ask the questions and figure out if it's something that's going to fit for you, is something that you need or want to be doing.
Yeah, definitely. So the reason that you could do it, why you would want to do a past life regression is understanding and healing recurrent fears, phobias, or emotional wounds, recognizing soul connections and karmic ties with people in this life, gaining clarity on life purpose and soul lessons, and releasing energetic blockages carried from past experiences. Basically everything we just said.
Yeah, going into it, I wanted more just understanding and clarity, and I think I got that and gained healing from it. So
just some like quick how you might be like have had a past life or like seeing a past life is deja vu or unexplained familiarity with places, people, or historical periods. Phobias or physical ailments with no clear origin. deep emotional connections with certain individuals, karmic or soul relationships, talents or skills that seem to come naturally, and vivid dreams or spontaneous visions of other lifetimes.
Yeah, that I think is what drew me to it to begin with. I was having 3 reoccurring dreams. Mostly when I was stressed, they would come up, but they just didn't make sense, like why they were there. So I wanted to get some understanding about that. And I don't want to get into the details of it, but I had this intense fear, and on the face of it, it seemed very irrational. It didn't make any sense. There was no reason. There's nothing that I've experienced in this lifetime for me to have this fear. And so much so that when I would dream about it, I would wake up having this experience. Just as broadly as possible, I was being attacked in some way, and I would wake up with pains and a sense of I was just attacked. So going into that process to gain some understanding, I was able actually to learn so much more about where that was coming from, which was pretty cool.
Yeah, which is amazing. So I was listening to a thing that actually Eric Zajac sent me is on a podcast with a woman who was like a shamanic practitioner and a medium, I think. And she was talking about how it would be possibly nice to do past life regressions, or at bare minimum, figure out what your ancestry is, especially for Europeans, because we tend to have a very muddled, people of European descent have a very muddled background. And so she was saying, I mean, everybody should, but kind of saying for the European, so that we could then connect with that ancestry and find out what their practices were, because we all came from the people practicing energetic medicine and all these different things that we've been talking about this entire podcast. So if you don't really know what your past ancestry is, you don't know how to connect with that. And then once you connect with that, it becomes more powerful. And also then now you're not also appropriating some other culture's thoughts on how to practice that way. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think it can be helpful for most people, if not everyone, to kind of get an understanding of like where not just where you come from, but where your practices, your ideas, your drives, your path, where is that stemming from? What things can you use or connect with to help improve it or to keep it going?
Yeah. So that's kind of all I have. So I don't know if you have any other questions, comments, thoughts on it.
No, I mean, it was kind of interesting that you took it in the route that you did. And not just on like past life regressions, but past lives and soul contracts and, you know, all of that. There's so much that could probably go a bit deeper into any one of those areas.
Yeah, I started like, but what about this? What about this? What about this? You know what I mean? I was like, oh gosh. So yeah, there's definitely way more, and I would like to find out more about a lot of these things. I wonder, I feel like I should like meditate or journey on some of these to kind of see if like,
yeah,
you know, what comes of it.
Yeah.
So
that too is, from my understanding anyway, there can be different ways of doing like a past life regression or, you know, finding this type of information. And maybe if you're experienced enough or feel confident enough in your own abilities to meditate on something like that, you could probably find that information. For me, it was helpful to go to somebody else. One, because at the time I wasn't that far into this process. So I you know, had no idea what to do or what to expect. But two, there was a moment that I was having that was very, very visceral and physical. And so my body was reacting to that. And the woman who was helping guide me through the past life regression was able to assist me physically as well. She got on the floor with me and was able to kind of like be there with me, which was helpful too. So in either case, I think if you're going to explore it on your own, just feeling comfortable and confident enough to do so.
Mm-hmm.
And if not, then finding somebody who can, have the information or know what to do or be able to guide you in different ways.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. Yeah. I would love to hear from our lovely listeners,
Yes.
our soul folks, if anybody's had a past life regression. Have you had any like thoughts that you are in like a new soul? If
Mm-hmm.
is there anybody that you're connected to that you're like, I swear this is from a past life, that sort of
Mm-hmm.
thing? Write in the comments. You can write it on YouTube. You can write it on Buzzsprout. You can write it on Spotify. Like, comment, let
Mm-hmm.
us know if you've had any of those. And I'd love to read any if anybody wants us
Yeah.
to talk about it. But yeah, so let us know. So, and to that, please comment, please review, please like, please subscribe to wherever you listen to us. That really gets
Mm-hmm.
us to be able to continue to do this and get this out to as many people as possible.
Yes.
So,
Look forward to hearing from you.
all right. See you next time.
Bye.